Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It has been officially announced. Gabby Fundora will be facing Gabriela Alaniz for the undisputed flyweight championship, as previously reported via the WBA's website. We talked about this fight, talked about how it might look and how it might break down what's on the line. Undisputed. The undisputed crown, the undisputed flyweight championship. In the four-belt era, I don't actually think there's ever been an undisputed flyweight champion in possession of all four titles. Gabriela Fundora sports professional record of 14 wins with no losses, no draws, 6 knockouts. To Gabriela Alaniz, who sports a professional record of 15 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 6 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 16 professional bouts. About the same number of fights, about the same level of experience.
Just about.
Gabriela Alaniz was last in action earlier this year in April. Her rematch with Marlene Esparza for 3 of the 4 major titles at this weight. She was able to avenge the loss, won a split decision.
Now she's back and she's fighting Gabby.
Gabby has already seen action 2 times this year, 2 times. Once in January against then unbeaten Cristina Cruz, who she stopped in the 10th round, and again this past August against Daniela Asenjo. This will be her 3rd fight this year, her 3rd fight.
She's gonna be sharp.
Neither fighter has any ring rust they need to shake off, but I do expect that Gabby Fundora will be the sharper, more devastating fighter of the two. I've already broken down the fight and the awkward assignment ahead of Gabriela Alaniz, trying to get within striking distance of the very statuesque, long and limber Gabby Fundora.
Also happens to be a southpaw, a hard-punching southpaw. I'd give the edge in power to Gabby Fundora, as well as the edge in boxing acumen, ring IQ. I think she's got it.
In a word, I already have Gabby Fundora winning the fight, becoming this division's undisputed champion, who I think will be the first undisputed champion in the 4-belt era, and perhaps also the inaugural undisputed champion of this division, because I don't think there's ever been one
In this era or the previous one.
So take a moment to appreciate what this could mean if Gabby Fundora wins, if she emerges the victor. She's only 22 years old, ladies and gentlemen. I think she'll be the youngest undisputed champion in the history of women's boxing, at minimum in the 4-belt era. She'll be the youngest undisputed champion with her whole career ahead of her, and having beaten Gabriela Alaniz in this scenario, there really won't be a whole lot left for her to do in the flyweight division. Now, of course, she could rack up 1 or 2 title defenses, but she'll move up eventually, move up to the super flyweight division, where there are 4 reigning champions at the weight, none of which seem to have any plans to unify.
Why?
Well, none of the 4 champions at the weight are with a major promotional outfit that would put up the money to entice another champion to unify titles with them. Neither Irma Garcia, who's got the IBF, Ashley Gonzalez, who's got the WBC, Mizuki Hiruta, who's got the WBO, or Clara Lescurat, who's got the WBA. None of them are with a major outfit.
And without that major outfit to put the money up to make these unifications happen, they don't happen.
You end up with a division that stays divided and has been divided for as long as I can remember. I can't remember if there's ever even been a unified champion in the super flyweight division. Should Gabby win the Gabriela Alaniz fight and subsequently move up, she is with a major promotional outfit. She's with Golden Boy.
They will put the money up. They'll continue to get her those opportunities so long as she holds up her end of the bargain. And you could give Gabriela very good odds against any one of the 4 champions at super flyweight, given her frame, her statuesque build, and her boxing acumen. She's the complete package.
Gabriela Fundora becoming a 2-time undisputed champion in a short amount of time is a distinct possibility. She's just got to make it through Gabriela Alaniz, and I think she's going to.
If she does, she will be integrated into the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list, and whoever's at the bottom, they're going to fall off.
It's an exclusive list, a very difficult list to get on, and even harder to stay on.
It's supposed to be.
There are a lot of champions in boxing. Men's boxing, women's boxing. This list is intended to represent the best of the best. And if Gabby Fundora becomes an undisputed champion at just 22 years old...
Self-explanatory. She's getting on the list. Look for Gabriela Fundora versus Gabriela Alaniz,
early next month in November on the undercard of Floyd Schofield's next fight.
He's a free agent with Devin Haney Promotions. I know he's done a bit of work with Eddie. You're with Matchroom and Under the Zone. How close did that fight get to being made?
Look, I believe a lot of it's talking to you just get a contract signed. You know how it is in boxing. Try to sell fights. There's a lot of back and forth banner. But look, he called me out. I responded straight away. Like I said, I'll fight anyone. I've wanted that fight for a long time, and we heard it. You've seen it. You've seen that I outpriced himself for that fight. I asked him for silly money. He doesn't bring a belt to the table. So look, we just moved on. We could tell he wasn't serious about it. So, yeah, we just moved on.
Not surprising. The moment that fight became a talking point, for however brief a time that was, I figured Devin wasn't going to go through with that. There's too many elements there that I felt would have discouraged him.
The money.
How much money would Devin have wanted to go back to Australia? Surely more than the show was worth, more than Matchroom was willing to pay out.
The money.
Wait, this would have been an IBF title fight for Liam Paro's newly obtained IBF title. Remember, Devin's not a champion at 140 anymore. He gave his green belt up. He gave it up to Alberto Puello. Puello is the reigning champion.
What's that got to do with Liam?
If you fight Liam for the IBF title, just the IBF title, there's a 10-pound weight cap, 10-pound rehydration cap, a second-day weigh-in. We all know by now that Devin rehydrates pretty heavy, in excess of 25 or 26 pounds.
Right.
The only time the IBF waives this is if there's more than one alphabet title on the line. But there wouldn't have been in this fight. It would have just been for Liam's IBF. So I figured Devin's not going to go for that.
No.
As much as he rehydrates too, it ain't happening.
Liam Paro is not exactly a rebound kind of guy. Oh yeah, Devin would have been on the rebound. He would have been on the bounce.
But this is not the ideal opponent choice for a guy who just took a shellacking at the hands of Ryan Garcia. Irrespective of the laws being overturned and whatever it says on paper, he took a beating. He took a beating in his last fight.
This wouldn't have been a tune-up.
These would have been less than favorable circumstances for Devin Haney. Coming from what he's coming from,
yes.
Fighting as the away fighter in Australia against the reigning champion and not being able to rehydrate what he would like to rehydrate to. It would have been difficult. So I figured Devin's not going to go for that, but he needs to fight someone.
Do you think he's done at 140 pounds?
I think so. What may seem like an opportunity to me and you to fight against a credible opponent for an alphabet title may not seem like an opportunity to Devin because he's done it 140 anyway. I don't think he's going to campaign there when he comes back, whenever he comes back.
It'll probably be at welterweight.
I think so. He gave up his own alphabet title and he passed on fighting for another one. Just gives you the impression he's done at 140.
He might come back as a welterweight.
Now, I think Devin needs to fight. He needs to fight against Liam Paro or somebody else between now and the time he fights Ryan again, because he might.
He needs to fight.
When I hear Liam Paro say that Devin Haney priced himself out, I believe it, and I can't help but look at that as a hindrance to Devin. That if the only way you're going to get out there is for big cash, big money, it's only going to make it harder to get back out there. Maybe you're expecting too much too often.
Sometimes you gotta make sacrifices.
Sometimes. But the fighters never want to go backwards on the money. They never want to take a haircut.
Okay.
Devin's stock is not exactly on the up and up right now. Now, Ryan Garcia may have been penalized. He may have been suspended and fined. The outcome of the match may have been overturned. But none of this lends itself to Devin Haney's stock and public perception of him, least of all when he's suing the guy that beat him, or quote-unquote beat him, for assault and battery. It hurts his image.
He looks like a bitch.
The sooner he can get back out there and put distance between himself and that nightmare of a performance, the sooner people can start to forget. The sooner he gets out there and wins a fight, the sooner he can remind them that he's a world-class fighter too. He's a world-class guy. The sooner he gets out there.
When is that gonna be?
Devin is a free agent. He seems to be having a tiff with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. He could go to Top Rank. He could see about fighting Lopez.
He could, but it doesn't seem like that's what he's doing.
In fairness, Teofimo doesn't seem all that interested in him either. He's calling out Javante. He's calling out Terrence Crawford. I don't see him calling out Devin Haney.
No.
I saw that his father, Bill. Bill said that the face of boxing is Jake Paul.
Huh?
He said the face of boxing right now, the guy bringing eyes to the sport, is Jake Paul. Seems a strange thing to say if you look at the comment as being an isolated comment, an isolated statement, but I'm far too cynical.
You think they might work with Most Valuable Promotions?
I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, you've already been there and done that with Top Rank. You seem to be on the outs with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. The PBC ain't got no goddamn money. So what are you gonna do? You gonna go to Golden Boy, shake your dick in front of the camera with Oscar, wear a Speedo?
Gross.
The Haney's working with Most Valuable Promotions is an idea that crossed my mind as I came across this comment from Bill. I don't rule it out. I don't.
But who would he fight over there?
Doesn't really matter. Most Valuable Promotions, Jake Paul, he's got that big Mike Tyson fight coming up next month. They seem to have something going on. So if they do more business moving forward,
It's more money.
so maybe Devin jumps into bed with them, where he can make an obscene amount of money for a safe choice, a safe opponent, in many ways a rebound fight. I get that he's still an unbeaten fighter, undefeated on paper.
But you saw what happened in his last fight. We all did.
It's a little hard to imagine he's going to do business with Matchroom and Eddie moving forward when they just had it out and everybody saw it. He called Eddie Hearn fake, a two-face.
Why are you mad?
Because Eddie wouldn't give him free tickets to the Joshua versus Dubois fight. That was the story. I don't rule it out. Devin Haney, working with Most Valuable Promotions, he is a free agent. He is free to do it.
We train every day. Every day? Every day. We gotta be ready so when Devin Haney wants that fade again, we already beat this one time. We do it twice, no debating anymore. I beat this like he stole something. See that 3 pounds mattered? Does 3 pounds matter to you when you pick it up? The day of the fight, he was a pound heavier than me, so there's no excuse.
Oh, sure.
He also took $1.5 million because I missed weight. Once you take the money, shut the up. He's a Diddy man. He said ain't no party like a Diddy party.
Ain't no
Yeah,
party
I
like a
guess
Diddy
we know
party.
that for sure now. Him and his daddy.
That's Devin's only path to redemption. That's the only way to get people to think of him how they used to think of him before the Ryan Garcia fight. A rematch, running it back. Devin needs the rematch more than Ryan.
That's not to say that Ryan doesn't have something to prove, because he does. They both do. But Devin needs it more.
There are so many people that are ready to believe whatever Ryan Garcia says, no matter how nonsensical or sporadic it might be. He's got more followers, more fans than Devin Haney.
Even though he's an idiot and a racist and a cheater.
He still has a bigger following and more marquee value than Devin Haney. Perhaps there's a social commentary somewhere in there that someone as appalling, as irreprehensible as Ryan Garcia could actually have that many people supporting him for no other reason
Then tribalism.
in tandem with the homoerotic tendencies that Ryan Garcia's male followers seem to exhibit. They seem less interested in his boxing and more interested in having sex with him.
Whoa.
Hey, I ain't judging nobody. I'm just telling you. A lot of these guys you see going up to bat for Ryan are doing it because they're attracted to him. So when you look at it through that lens, whatever they got to say ain't got a goddamn thing to do with boxing.
It's not objective.
An even evaluation of the situation. Ryan doesn't need the rematch as much as Devin, but they do both have something to prove. Devin obviously has to avenge what happened in the first fight. They might have stricken the loss from the record, but not from people's minds, not from people's memories. They know what they saw, so he's got to get his lick back. Ryan has to prove that it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't the pads. It wasn't because he came in 3 pounds over. That he can beat Devin Haney again.
Devin should be counting his lucky stars that Ryan is even entertaining the possibility of a second fight, because he really doesn't need to.
Not as bad as Devin. Likely because, if nothing else, a rematch would sell more pay-per-views than the first fight did. Going into the first fight, most people were expecting another ho-hum Devin Haney points win. They did not expect the controversy that ensued. Not just that Devin would lose, but that Ryan would test positive for a performance-enhancing drug. Controversy, whether you like it or not, draws attention and helps a pay-per-view sell. That's why The second Wilder vs. Fury fight sold more than the first one did. More than 2 times as much.
The first fight did about 325 or 350,000, I think it was. The second fight did around 800,000.
Still a categorical flop because they spent a lot more money to make the second fight than the first, though all the same. The second fight sold a lot more than the first one did because the second fight had the controversy from the first fight. The controversial draw. Controversy sells.
And what controversy has rocked the boxing world in recent memory more than this one? Ryan shocking the world, upsetting the apple cart and the established order, then testing positive for a PED immediately afterwards.
It's too much money on the table for the both of these guys to not do a rematch. That's just the reality of it. They're likely both going to come back in the welterweight division, and no other fight at welterweight would get them the money that this one would.
They won't make the money fighting Mario Barrios, a Brian Norman, a Montestanionis, a Jaron Ennis. They don't make the money fighting them that they'd make fighting each other.
Turn it into a trilogy. It's possible that Devin Haney can tighten up and get it together and win a rematch. I can see that, but it won't be as devastating as his loss to Ryan. It won't. I don't think Devin knocks him out, and I don't think he knocks him down 3 times the way Ryan did him. I don't think it goes down that way. He can win a ho-hum points decision, patching up the holes and being careful. The problem,
if you can't do to Ryan what Ryan did to you, is that really a win? And at the very most, that means you're 1-1 with each other. That's how people are going to look at it.
You look at the landscape in the welterweight division and the limitations of these two fighters, it really wouldn't pay to roll the dice with anybody else. You do a trilogy.
It's a lot of money.
Because Devin can't punch, and he can't seem to take a punch, and Ryan is a shitty boxer. He really is a shitty boxer.
He's benefiting from his height and his length and his speed and his strength, but in terms of boxing, the guy sucks. As a welterweight, you're not so big. You're not so strong.
You look strong, bringing up guys like Emmanuel Tago from 135 up to 140, Javier Fortuna, Oscar Duarte. Those were all lightweights that he fought above super lightweight.
So he looked strong.
You won't look so big and bad as a welterweight against other welterweights. Other guys at or around your size that rehydrate to whatever you rehydrate to. Maybe more.
So why roll the dice with them when you can go back in there with Devin?
Not saying that it's a lock that Devin wins a rematch, a second fight, but if he does, that does leave the door open for a trilogy, which could be lucrative for the both of them.
Rivalries in the sport of boxing, having that adversary, it is a blessing in disguise.
That nemesis, that frick to your frack. In boxing, as a sport and as a business, that can be a blessing in disguise.
I think we're gonna see a second fight.